Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this online teaching session. This is the first virtual teaching session that we are organizing from the Mindful Educators website. It's being hosted by this website. And our first teaching session is going to be conducted by Venerable Chandaratana, who will be introduced shortly. The Mindful Educators website and its work started a few weeks ago, and the website typically hosts material and teachings connected to values like empathy, kindness, integrity, and respect for diversity, based on a foundation of mindfulness. And the website is managed by a team of persons who have been educators or who have had experience with the education sector. The target population of these teachings and the material that we are sharing is all educators. So we are looking at teachers, principals, officials connected to the education sector of preschools, schools, universities, higher education institutions, and any person connected to the education sector. What is important at this point is just to connect a new trend that is developing in the world or has been developing for the last few years. And that's where value education and social emotional learning together with civic education is being given pride of place within the education sector. And we find that value education with this type of learning, social emotional learning, has a direct connection to mindfulness. And that's why we have invited Venerable Chandaratana to join us and to take us through the session today. So we intend having this type of session every few weeks. The sessions will also be posted on our website, and we expect the session to go on for about an hour and a half. After Venerable Chandaratana starts his talk, he will also lead us through a guided session of mindfulness meditation, after which he is open to a discussion, a Q&A. So with that, I'm going to invite my colleague Dinusha to kindly introduce Venerable Chandaratana, and from there on, we can take off with the session. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tara. Today it is my great pleasure to introduce to you Venerable Chandaratana Thero. Prior to becoming a Buddhist monk in 2008, he studied electrical engineering at the University of Moratuwa, and then went on to work in the USA and Singapore on in the field of building automation systems and also mobile application development. He completed his Master in Computer Science in 2008 at the University of Moratuwa, after which he ordained as a monk. And since he ordained as a monk, he has been in the forest, living in the forest, and he has been learning and also teaching meditation. Yeah, he's been learning and teaching meditation during this time. Today he would be talking to us about kindness, empathy, and sensitivity inside of schools and higher institutions, higher education institutions. Venerable Chandaratana, I invite you to take the floor.
Yeah, thank you very much. So it's a little long title. Anyway, let's try to practically approach this topic. And I like to share my screen on few things. So hope you all can see now. Yeah. So basically, this is what we are trying to talk, and the topic is basically related to the mindfulness. That's why, as I said, as you all said, that I was selected to talk on this subject. Now, when it comes to kindness, empathy, and sensitivity, how that is going to be developed using mindfulness practice is something that we have to explore, and we can actually use Buddha's teaching, and again we can take a practical approach on how to deal with it and how we are actually accomplishing it. When it comes to Buddha's teaching directly, so let me introduce a little bit of Buddha's teaching here. Now, if you consider Anguttara Nikaya Sati Sampajanya Sutta, this is one of the very interesting sutta where Buddha talks about uh, kind of a gradual improvement of certain qualities in our mind. So he starts with Sati Sampajanya, that is where mindfulness is coupled with clear comprehension. And then once one develops mindfulness and clear comprehension, that leads to develop moral shame and moral dread. Now, these are very beautiful relationships that Buddha have come up with, and immediately we can't understand how it is happening. That is what we are trying to explore during this session. And now I am basically referring Buddha's teaching directly so that to get some concrete examples. So in this Satsampajanya Sutta, Buddha is talking that if one develops sati, that is the mindfulness, and the sampajanya, that is the clear comprehension, then that is actually leading to develop moral shame and moral fear or moral dread. Now this is again interesting because moral shame and moral dread is something that is available within ourselves. So that is why the whole world being at least behaving like this, because they all have some amount of moral shame and moral dread. Now, if one develops mindfulness and clear comprehension, so Buddha says moral shame and moral dread will be the outcome. So that will be automatically developed as one develops mindfulness and clear comprehension. And it doesn't stop there. It further enhances to develop restraint of the sense faculties. You know, we have eyes, ears, nose, tongue, body, and mind. So these are typically called as the sense faculties. And we start to little careful about how we are going to use them without uh, misusing them. Now we are trying to properly use them. And therefore, we are getting some amount of restraint. Now, this also further develops to virtuous behavior within ourselves. So that is what we are into today. We are going to talk about today. So ultimately, we are having a very good person in a way. He is very virtuous and compassionate and have empathy about the others, and again sensitive about what is really going on. And let's see how this kind of situation, this kind of an outcome is possible through mindfulness practice. So this is the kind of an exploration that I am trying to explain you how this is possible through practical involvement in mindfulness practice. So let's take mindful sitting first. Now, if you consider mindful sitting, so we are introducing kind of a very simple activity where you are closing your eyes in a very gentle manner, and you are now allow yourself to calm down and then now trying to pay attention what you really feel. It may be your touching places, it may be the breathing, it may be the postures, what you are experiencing, it may be even various sounds. So these are the things that you may be experiencing once you close your eyes. So these are in a way very direct experiences, because you know it is not that you are trying to imagine something, or it is not that you are trying to construct something, or you are to think about something. Rather, you are now trying to directly experience something. Actually, it is experiencing everything. We basically have to have kind of an open mind, kind of an open attitude. So there, with such an open mind, you are now trying to experience what is really going on at this present moment. Now, this is a kind of a change in ourselves, because we don't typically do like this. Rather, we are in a kind of a conceptual world and thinking about various things happened in the past, and again thinking about various things going to happen in the future, daydreaming, fantasizing. So this is how we typically live. That is how our mind typically works. But on the other hand, in the mindfulness sitting practice, so we are trying to come back to ourselves and try to experience what is really going on at this present moment, what I can experience. So this direct touch, this direct experience is something very unique in this whole practice. And assume that now you are trying to focus your attention on breath. This is just an example. So if you are trying to pay attention on breath, so you may understand it is not easy. The practice itself is, in a way, the technique itself is very easy. That is to simply be aware of your breath. That is how Buddha starts. But if you are practically trying to get involved in there, and you will understand it is extremely difficult, because our mind is not that tamed. It's like a monkey mind, jumping from this to that, from this to that. It's a very untamed monkey mind. So now we have to have some sort of a compassion towards ourselves, because we understand, even though I am so many uh, years old now, I have so much of social status, but still it's quite difficult for me to just maintain my attention on breathing. So there you have to allow some self-compassion towards yourself, and when mind distracts, again and again you have to bring it back to yourself, bring it back to your breath. Now this is, in a way, develops a fair amount of patience, because otherwise you can't succeed. Now here you are understanding your own mistakes, whatever the things that you did before coming to the sitting, or everything coming to your mind. So you will understand if you do something wrong, so it may come to your mind. If you scold someone, that will come to your mind. If you did something even good, that will come to your mind. So likewise, there are many distractions happening within ourselves, and therefore you have to forgive yourself, because that is what you did. Now let's forget about the past. Now how to be in the present moment. So likewise, you are now starting to forgive yourself and to accept yourself, and slowly you are now trying to refine your attention on breathing. And here again, you are having some time for yourself. Typically, maybe you are involved in so many other activities for others, maybe a lot of responsibilities, and you may have to work for others. But now this is a time for yourself. You are now well connected to yourself. And in the mindfulness practice, it is not that we are very restricted on breathing. Rather, you can include everything. That is why I have mentioned it's a kind of an open practice. You have to have an open attitude to include everything. It is true that we are trying to focus our attention on breathing as much as possible, but we are not restricted to pay attention to everything else as well. Now, this kind of a practice actually brings our attention to ourselves. You are now start to aware of yourself. You start to feel about yourself. You start to understand about yourself. And you are now trying to be sensitive about yourself. Now, this sensitivity, this self-awareness is not limited to yourself. Now it slowly expand to others as well. Now, likewise, you will understand this mindfulness sitting practice have a good connectivity with ourselves. And again, that helps to blossom our mind or open our mind to the others as well. So let's consider mindful walking. Now, this is another very interesting practice where you are in a, if possible, as much as possible, in an open environment, and you do a very simple walking. As I said, all the mindfulness techniques are extremely simple. So you have to maintain that simplicity. Otherwise, you are basically complicating the situation. Otherwise, you are complicating the technique, so that you won't get the target benefit. Rather, if you are able to maintain its simplicity, then you most of the time you'll be able to achieve your target. Now, in this mindful walking, so we are as much as possible trying to walk mindfully, barefooted, maybe in an open environment. Maybe several others are also walking with us. And you can even hear many things. You can even see a lot of things. Your eyes are open. Now, it is in a way kind of a challenge. Now, in the typical sitting practice, we have to close our eyes and we may be finding a very silent place. So a lot of restrictions are there. In a way, fairly conducive environment is there for kind of a concentration practice. But on the other hand, when it comes to mindful walking practice, a different story, where you have to walk in an open environment, barefooted, intentionally you have to walk. The others are also maybe walking surrounded you. And again, you can listen and even see various things. How are you going to keep your attention on the touching sensation of your foot? So that is the challenge. So the challenge itself is giving you a lot of courage how to accomplish it, how to progress in it. So so you have to let go of all the future plans. You have to let go of all the past memories, and you have to come back to yourself. You have to come back to yourself so that you are releasing all the stresses. You may be allowing the mind even to talk, doesn't matter. But as much as possible, once you are given time, now you are connecting your attention, or you are focusing your attention on your left leg. You are focusing your attention on your right leg. So we are not worried about various distractions. Rather, once mind is with ourselves, once mind is sort of coordinating with ourselves, at that moment, we are now trying to keep our attention on our left leg and our right leg, our left leg and our right leg. So what are the outcomes in a way? So you will be having kind of again, kind of a compassionate mind, because without it, you can't succeed. Because once you are going to the say to the walking path, you will understand your mind does not obey you immediately. So you have to have a lot of space in yourself to allow all these imperfections, to allow all these lot of distractions to coming on your way. But once your mind coordinates, get the maximum benefit. You are keeping your attention on left leg and right leg. Now this slowly tames the mind. This slowly coordinates the mind with our order in a way. Now, as you are coordinating, as you are succeeding, then your clarity of mind going to start, going to improve. Previously, there are so many distractions, but now the distractions become less and less, and your clarity of mind going to be improved. Now it is coordinating. Now your attention is fairly improved, and slowly you are able to develop fair amount of mindfulness, and number of steps that you can walk mindfully going to be developed, going to be improved. And as a result, now you are having a kind of a stable mind, because you started with a lot of challenges, and once you succeed, that indicates your mind is fairly stable. Without such stability, you can't be successful. So some amount of stability should be there in order for you to feel these all experience in this very moment. So the mind get clear, and as well as mind become fairly stable. So you are now ready for any kind of a challenge. Now you have that gut feeling to face any challenge. So this is kind of a practice, therefore very practical, and kind of connecting with the nature, even connecting with others, and you can actually accept what is going on at the moment. Now, if we get into feelings, we all have different feelings. Now, if we are able to pay attention to various feelings, there also you will understand how they don't behave as you wish. When you want to feel a good feeling, a kind of a pleasurable feeling, it may be coming on your way, kind of a even a painful feeling. When you want to be free from painful feeling, it's continuously stay for a while. And you may be struggling, but it doesn't go away. So there you will understand. So these feelings are not yours. So they come according to their own agenda. So I have to be a little patient with them. I have to be a little compassionate with them, because otherwise you are now adding another mental pain on top of the physical pain. So this is where another interesting lesson that we are learning. There are various, say, feelings are there. Now you are trying to observe them with a distant. You are not trying to attach with them since they are pleasurable, and you are not trying to hate them since they are painful. And again, you are not trying to ignore them since they are neutral. So you have to be very attentive, You have to be very focused and have to have a kind of an open mind. And again, you have to be compassionate to yourself because you are not in control of this whole situation. They are coming and they are going on according to their own wish, according to their own agenda, according to their own causes and conditions. And you simply are observing it as a third person, as a kind of a detached observation. You have to continue. Otherwise, you can't succeed in this area as well. Now, these are in a way kind of challenges. You may be learning them, and if you are to be successful, then you have to incorporate certain mental qualities. So as I said, you have to accept it. When a painful feeling happens, you have to accept it rather than trying to reject it, rather than trying to be run away from it. You have to accept it. When a kind of a pleasurable feeling happens, you don't have to grasp it, rather you have to keep a little distant again. And again, when there are sort of neutral feelings, again, you are calming down yourself, you are not ignoring it, trying to be fully aware of it. Now, this again develops fair amount of self-awareness. You are now recognizing your own different feelings. You may start with various bodily feelings, but now you can even include various mental feelings as well. It may be a little agony, it may be a little despair, it may be a little displeasure, unhappiness, maybe even pleasure, happiness, whatever it is, you can include. Now you are sort of including physical as well as mental feelings, and you can observe them as a third person, as someone else. Now, this actually develops fair amount of appreciation, fair amount of acceptance, and again, kind of a self-compassion, because you will understand that these are actually not yours. You have very limited control, and you simply have to compassionate to yourself, because the body is like a machine going through various sensations, various feelings. And once you start to observe them, you will understand, okay, I just have to bear it. I have to cope with it. I have to be patient with it. So this, in a way, develops fair amount of compassion, fair amount of sensitivity, and again, fair amount of clear comprehension. You have to very precisely keep your attention to each and every feeling. So there are fair amount of clear comprehension is required. Precise positioning or aiming is required. So likewise, there are many skills we are developing because of this kind of a practice. Now, once it comes to the mind, now we all have different emotions. We may become angry, we become sort of uh, agitated, sometimes we become sort of love and compassionate. So ultimately, all these are fairly mind related. So the mindfulness practice actually helping to recognize them and to be with them and not to hold them and to let go of them. Now, as I said, so this mindfulness practice is not only to the body or to the feelings. Now we are even going to the emotions, and you are allowing various emotions to come. You are not afraid of them, and you are not identifying with them. So that is the most important thing. So sometimes what happens is that when various feelings are arising, we are immediately trying to push it away. Then we are aggravating the situation. On the other hand, when there are feelings come, we are trying to hold it. Again, we are aggravating the situation. But on the other hand, if we are able to maintain that distance and to deal with them properly, then we can actually handle emotions at their very early stages. Now, once feelings are fairly developed to some extent, we call them emotions. But if we are able to tackle the feelings at their early stages, then emotions are, of course, we can handle. Now, when it comes to emotions, various mental states, again, we have to have an open mind. So we have to allow them to come. You are not trying to restrict your mind, rather you are not trying to reject your mind, rather you are now have an open attitude. You may allow various thoughts to come. You are not afraid. You have the confidence because you know what is mindfulness now. And again, the beauty is now you have a kind of a vantage point to observe them. It is not that you are being driven by various emotions. You are basically have a vantage point to observe them as a separate person. Now, again, here also these emotions, various thoughts, doesn't come as you wish and doesn't go as you wish. There also you have to develop a fair amount of self-compassion because they don't behave as you wish. They are not in your control. So you have to sympathetic onto yourself because you find, so they are also coming, they are also going, and they are also sometimes stay for a long. If you are not immediately react, then that is the key. They may come, true, and they may you may be aware of them, and you are not trying to reject them. And again, since you are not interacting or since you are not trying to react with them, so they may start to slowly go away. So likewise, now you are trying to be aware more and more about yourself. You understand various mental emotions. You understand various mental states. Even the compassion as a mental state. You are not being overwhelmed by the compassion. You are not going to tears because of the compassion. So you understand all these are under your control in a way at this level. So when they arise, you have that vantage point to come out of it, not to be driven by them, and you are observing them. As a result, slowly they will go away and you have your own freedom. Slowly, you are recognizing there's a kind of a freedom, there's a kind of a detached observation, there's a kind of an island, it's a kind of a vantage point where you can reside, where you can stay, where you can be safe. So there you are almost now trying to stay as long as possible. There's a kind of a perspective change happen within yourself as you recognize this vantage point, as you recognize this safe place. Now, and you will understand there may be various emotions you are unknowingly promoting. And if you are continuously promoting such mental state, kind of a habit, then it becomes sort of a, if it is a really bad habit, then it becomes really hard for you. It may be really harmful to you because it is found that what you are developing again and again, what you think again and again becomes more engraved in the mind. So that is the neuroplasticity. So therefore you become fairly careful of what you think. You become very careful of what you do, how you behave, because all these habits ultimately are deeply engraved to yourself and that becomes yourself. So you become now fairly self-caring, very careful about yourself, what you think, what you do, how you maintain your speech. And so likewise, so there are fair amount of understanding, vigilance, awareness, self-awareness is now developing and you are very careful of what you think right now. And let's go to the mindful games. Now these are another area quite interesting where you may be doing with a group and you are even have a lot of fun. And again, all the mindful games as much as possible are dealing with the present moment awareness. You have to be very attentive on the present moment. And again, it may be involved with teamwork. You have to be with others. You have to look at the others. You have to understand others' expressions and you have to cooperate with others. So all this teamwork is involved in the mindful games. And as you are doing it, of course, stress being reduced. And again, once you understand another person, how another one going to behave, what are the expressions? So here we are developing empathy. And if you are further developing mindfulness, and now you are getting to fair amount of deep understanding about how you are going to maintain your mind in a non-grasping way, not holding, not grasping, not with fixations, but with a kind of a relaxed attitude. And now you become sort of calm, relaxed, and you are understanding that you are connected. even though you are non-grasping, but you are fairly connected with everyone. You are fairly connected even with the whole universe. You don't feel alone, but rather you feel you are kind of a part of the whole universe. You are part of the nature, and we all are interconnected. You are not developing some sort of an ego, kind of a selfishness. Rather, you will understand. So we all are human beings. We all are interconnected. We can't live without the others. So the whole universe is fairly interconnected. So everything impacts the every other thing. So likewise, you have this very beautiful perspective where you are now not being a very selfish, narrow-minded individual. Rather, you can envelop everything. You can embrace everything. And you, because you understand, you are a part of the universe. You are part of the nature. So this is how the mindfulness fairly go into the deep aspects or deep levels of our spirituality, and now basically no boundaries. So there are no boundaries as males, females. There are no boundaries as Sinhalese, Tamils, Muslims. There are no boundaries as Sri Lanka, India, Pakistan. Likewise, any country divisions, any nationalities. There are no boundaries. We all are human beings. So these are in a way very beautiful gradual growth happens in the mindfulness practice. And there, the compassion and wisdom coming to sort of a harmony. So if you are sort of too much compassionate with less wisdom, then again it's not the real proper thing. Again, if you have too much wisdom without any compassion, that is also not properly balanced. But to maintain this compassion and wisdom in a proper balance is in a way kind of an art. So that is where Buddha is kind of the best person as a true human being, where he has the complete compassion as well as the best wisdom. So there you will understand everything is connected, even though you are maintaining kind of a non-grasping attitude, unattached attitude, no boundaries. So this is in a way how mindfulness evolves into deep levels into the spirituality. And let me introduce few recent findings. Uh, Now, several researchers are actually trying to find out what is the relationship between the mindfulness practice and the self-compassion, what is the mindfulness practice and the various compassion and other say benefits. And I found an interesting article from Dr. Christine Neff and Dr. Christopher Germ. So they actually did several researches, and they found there's a direct relationship between mindfulness and compassion. Now, in the mindfulness practice, the main theme is accepting the experience. Now, you are connected with the present moment experience. And in the self-compassion, you are careful about the experiencer. That is yourself. You are a little careful about yourself because it is happening naturally. It is fairly interconnected. So you are experiencing what is happening right now. At that time, you are careful of what is happening to you. So kind of a self-compassion going to arise because of this kind of a connectivity. And you are exploring what you are experiencing right now in the mindfulness practice. And in the compassion aspect, you are sort of recognizing what you really need. And on the other hand, you feel sort of suffering, you feel unsatisfactoriness, you feel a lot of feelings, emotions, many imperfections. You are going through it. And while you are going through it, you have to be kind to yourself. Without it, you can't, if you simply go for kind of a struggle, you go for resistance, then it's impossible. So you have to reduce resistance. You have to avoid any kind of rejection. Rather, you are simply allowing things to happen. You open up your mind. So therefore, this mindfulness and self-compassion go hand in hand. So actually, mindfulness practice cannot be successful until you combine the self-compassion aspect into it. And again, the self-compassion cannot be properly maintained if you don't have proper mindfulness. So it's a fairly interrelated aspects. And there they found, and the people who are mindful and self-compassionate, they can actually accept imperfections because they understand themselves are not perfect, Similarly, the others are also not perfect. So therefore, in an environment with imperfections, they can actually live harmoniously. And again, they can live with less resistance. And they enjoy greater happiness because they are not complaining, and they are actually understand themselves and the others. They can include everything. So therefore, they have less resistance, and therefore they have a lot of happiness. And they can maintain better relationships, and therefore they have less illnesses because they are happy. This happy mind actually helps to maintain good health. And there are not too much thinking, because nowadays we are too much thinking. We are into rumination, fantasizing. But when you accept things and you are coping up with the situation, so there you don't need to think too much. You are not into rumination. So that actually reduce the anxiety, depression, and all these problems. And you can recover any problem. You can actually deal with any, say, hardship without any problem. You can recover very quickly. So the resilience is improved. So these are very beautiful findings. They came up recently. Now I like to go to certain new trends into this education sector. Now, because of these recent findings, now the mindfulness practice is being incorporated to the education system. Recently, Satipasala organization was established by Most Venerable Udairigama Dhammajiva Mahatero in 2016. So it is now trying to incorporate mindfulness to the school curriculum. And they are dealing with various schools, Pirivena, Sunday schools, universities, and many other organizations. So this is a good trend that we can understand the benefits of the mindfulness, and why not using it there. So incorporating this mindfulness practice to the universities, to the students, to the, say, schools, actually have a lot of benefits, because they start to feel themselves. They start to coordinate with others. So therefore, this is something very beautiful. And now Ministry of Education and the National Institute of Education are fairly coordinating, and now they are going to have accommodate it to the national curriculum. And this is a good trend going on at the moment in the Sri Lanka. And there are new trends in the education sector. They now come up with a, sort of a new, what you call standard called social emotional learning. It basically has several components. So they are talking about self-awareness. They talk about self-management. They talk about responsible decision making. They talk about relationship skills, and again, social awareness. Now you see the awareness, the term awareness is frequently included there. So this awareness component is something that we have lost. We were in a kind of a very narrow, limited area, but now people understood how deficient it is. And now they are in need of awareness. They need of connectivity. They want to be connected. They want to be aware of what is really going on. So therefore, this social emotional learning is a new trend coming into the education sector, and it connects with self-awareness, self-management, responsible decision making, relationship skills, and social awareness. So these are new trends that you all can explore, and how to incorporate these new trends to ourselves and to the whole education system. Actually, that concludes my presentation, and I like to continue the session with a guided sitting now. So you can find a relaxed posture, calm down yourself. Don't think about what I have said. Now you can forget it. So you'll be getting the slides maybe, so you don't have to worry about thinking about all these or memorizing all these. Now simply calm down. You can gently close your eyes. Keep your head straight. Your upper half of the body also straight. Take a deep breath, hold it for a second, and slowly release. Again, take a deep breath, hold it for a second, and slowly release. Listen what you can hear. Actually, I can hear the rain, thundering. So you also can listen what actually going on at the present moment. So all these sounds happen right now. They are not in the past, not in the future. They all happen right now. So if you are able to recognize them, if you are able to listen to them without any attachment, without any hate, so that indicates you are living in the present moment. Hold it for a second and slowly exhale. Breathing in, energizing yourself. Breathing out, relaxing yourself. So all these sounds you are accepting. You are not resisting anything. See what you can feel. Your eyes are gently closed. And keep your tongue at the middle, at its root. And you can feel your lips touching each other. And your shoulders are in a restful position. Your hands may be on your lap, very relaxed. And probably you can feel some pressure, weight at your buttocks. Legs are bent and relaxed. No tension. Take a deep breath again, hold it for a second and release. If there are various thoughts coming in your mind, don't worry about them, but don't encourage them. Just allow them to go. Don't give any value to those memories. If there are thoughts related to the future, various plans, daydreaming, fantasizing, don't encourage them. Don't give any value to them. Just let them go. They are merely thoughts. Try to appreciate this simple present moment awareness. You can feel various things. You can hear various things. This all happen in the present moment. You are not in a dream. You are living in this present moment. Accept that your mind is going through various distractions, your body feeling little uncomfortable. Simply accept it. Be compassionate to yourself. Don't drive yourself. You have enough time. There is nothing big to achieve. Simply to connect with ourselves. Are you able to feel the breath? Are you able to feel the rising and falling of the abdomen? Are you able to feel the touching sensations? See whether you can feel them. Have little curiosity to explore what is going on. If you are able to pay attention to breathing, try to investigate the breath. Is it long? Is it short? Is the in-breath warm or cool? Is the out-breath warm or cool? From which nostril in-breath goes in? From which nostril the out-breath goes out? Have a little curiosity. Try to investigate. If your mind distracts, don't worry about it. Just come back to the breath. Again and again. You have enough time. There is no rush. If you are able to calm down yourself, if you are able to establish mindfulness on breath, then try to observe it carefully. How does it begin? How does it evolve? And how does it ends? How in-breath starts? How in-breath evolves? How in-breath disappears? Are you able to recognize a little gap between the in-breath and the out-breath? Are you able to feel the beginning of the out-breath, middle of the out-breath, end of the out-breath? There may be a little gap between the out-breath and the in-breath. Be a little curious. Are you able to recognize it? There may be various thoughts coming in the mind, so you can simply ignore them. You are not responsible for them. They are not yours. You can simply let them go. Come back to this simple awareness. Enjoy this simplicity. Have a little smile at your face. Enjoy the present moment. Breathing in, energizing yourself. Breathing out, releasing all the tensions. Breathing in, wishing the best for yourself. Breathing out, wishing the best for everyone. If there are various feelings, probably you can be aware of them. They have the nature to come, stay for a while, and then go. But you don't know which type of feeling going to appear next. Have an open attitude. You are ready to accept any kind of feeling. If it is a pleasurable feeling, simply accept it. Observe it. Don't hold it. Don't grasp it. Maintain little distance. If it is slowly disappearing, allow it to go. If it is a painful feeling, don't reject it. Don't try to get rid of it. Accept it. Be with it. Be patient with it. If it is disappearing, allow it to go. If it is a neutral feeling, don't ignore it. Try to be aware of it. How does it appear? How it is evolving? How it is disappearing? If it is disappearing, let it go. Find this beautiful skill of distant observation, finding your safe place, safe island, being where you can simply observe various things. Different types of waves are happening. While being in the island, you are observing them. You are not much disturbed. You have this safe vantage point. If there are various thoughts, now you don't need to afraid of them. They are merely thoughts. Let them come. Let them be. And let them go. Don't try to hold anything and don't be afraid of anything and let it go. Be this simple observer. Have a very relaxed mind, very relaxed attitude, non-grasping attitude, unentangled attitude, quite spacious, no boundaries. Relax yourself. So with that, I like to conclude my session. And now I like to pass the session to yourself. Maybe Dinusha or Dr. Tara can take part.
Thank you very much, Venerable Chandaratana, for that excellent understanding that you shared with us on mindfulness and how you connected it to compassion. and eventually to all the attributes and all the traits they are now describing in social and emotional learning. I think social and emotional learning will play a very big role in education developers, in those who are reforming and designing new education systems, because of the issues that arise inside classrooms, inside schools, and in universities. I think most educators will agree with me when I talk about the multiple issues. And more recently, in addition to social and emotional learning, they have introduced the importance of civic education once again. Long years ago, when we were children, we used to learn civics education, but then it gradually faded off, replacing it with science, technology, engineering, maths, and so on. So once again, the civic infrastructure is brought in. And I think the role that mindfulness as a kind of a pivotal role with all of these, what you clearly explained was wonderful. Thank you so much for that. We have one question, and I would like to invite Niluka to ask that. Niluka, you have posted it on the chat. Do you think you'd like to ask the question yourself from Venerable Chandaratana?
Okay, sure. Thank you very much, Tara. Thank you so much, Venerable Chandaratana, for that very valuable and insightful teaching. It really resonated with me. I actually wanted to ask you about, when emotions arise, like in the past when I went to school and all in Dharma lessons, we have been encouraged to like cultivate positive mental states and then also kind of reduce the negativity in our minds. Whether we should consciously do that or whether we should just let whatever emotion or mental state comes up arise as it is and pass. So there are like, I feel like there are two different ways of approaching positive and negative mental states. And I was just wondering what is the more suitable and appropriate way of especially addressing negative mental states and negative emotions that come up.
Yeah, that's an interesting question. Basically, as you said, the typical approach, the common instruction is that try to avoid all the unwholesome states and try to develop, cultivate wholesome states. Now, when it comes to the mindful practice, slowly we are developing mindfulness and we are trying to accept various sensations. We are trying to be aware of various feelings and various, say, element characteristics. So likewise, now we are in a different perspective, a different domain to accept things. Now, once we are going to accept various feelings, now you will understand how these feelings are beyond your control. I mean, they are causing because of their own causes and conditions. They are arising due to those causes and conditions. And you simply can observe them, but you can't demand them. You can't, in a way, control them. There may be little control available, but you can't demand. You can't demand, okay, let's come pleasurable feeling, let's come painful feeling. You can't demand like that. And slowly now you understand they have their own nature. They have their own sort of lifespan. And slowly, as you are applying this same kind of an experience to the mind also behave the same style. So there are a lot of thoughts coming in, and if you are trying to feed them, they will stay longer, and then they slowly disappear. But if you stop feeding them, then fairly quickly they go away. Now you are finding a new sort of a domain where there is no thoughts at all. Say, for example, at the previous stages of the mindfulness practice, there may be rapid rate of thoughts, one after the other, one after the other. But because of the mindfulness practice, slowly this rapidity reduces, the speed reduces, and the frequency reduces, and there may be little gaps between thoughts. And now you can properly recognize these thoughts. Assume it is a kind of a faithful thought. You may have a little faith, I mean, you have a faith on the Buddha, and assume that is a kind of a faithful thought. Now it is also have the nature to come, stay for a while, and now you are not promoting it, and as a result it will go, it will disappear. Now assume there's a kind of a resistance in the mind, kind of a hate coming in the mind. And if you are able to watch it, you will understand, okay, it also appear and stay for a while and it also disappear. Assume there's a little desire in the mind and you will observe it has a nature to come, stay for a while and then disappear. Assume there's a little kind of a restlessness in the mind. It also have the nature to come, be there, and you are not sort of promoting it. You have that little distance. You can step back and watch it. As a result, you are not promoting that restlessness. You are not becoming agitated. As a result, that also disappear. Suppose there's a little drowsiness and you recognize it. As a result, you can overcome drowsiness. Suppose there's a little doubt in the mind and you are clearly recognizing this as a doubt. And doubt also have the nature to come and you are not being caught up with it. As a result, that also disappear. And you will understand, therefore, you don't need to really struggle with these negativities because they themselves are not really sort of devils. They are not that strong. I am the one unknowingly promoting them. I am the one unknowingly feeding them. So once you stop feeding them and once you are able to look at them from distant without promoting, without feeding, without being driven by them, so you are now free from them in a way. You become sort of independent from them and they are like someone else's. They have the nature to come due to various reasons and you have the capacity to watch them without feeding them, without being driven by them. And as a result, you can observe that how fragile they are, how weak they are. They are not devils. They simply go. And now slowly the confidence develop within yourself. Even all these negativities are not really having any kind of a core. They don't have any kind of a substantial core in it. Though they appear like kind of devils, like Maras, but actually once you are properly dealing with them, they have the nature to come and go. So Buddha actually give a very beautiful simile here. Buddha says all these different types of thoughts, mental states are like a banana trunk. You know, in the banana trunk, so as you peel it out, so you can't really find a core. You can't really find what you call this hard material. Rather, it's again and again, it will ultimately go to nothing. It's empty. It is sort of hollow. There is no real core in it. Similarly, all these thoughts at the beginning, all these emotions at the beginning appear like really rigid, appear like they are like a devil. But once you are able to properly handle them, they simply disappear, they become very weak, and ultimately you find your own kind of an independence. You have your own kind of a clarity of mind. You have your own presence of mind, awareness, which is free from thoughts. That is more stable. So now you are recognizing the value of that awareness. You start to recognize that knowing nature available in the mind, which is free from thoughts. And you are now encouraging that. And as a result, you are fairly safe. So that is where Buddha encourages. So appreciate this simple, unattached, non-grasping, independent simplicity, this mindfulness, this awareness. So that is the refuge. And you are promoting that instead of struggling with various thoughts, instead of struggling with various negativities, and again, not even promoting various positive thoughts, wholesome thoughts. So all these wholesome thoughts, unwholesome thoughts have the nature to come and have the nature to go. So this kind of a very interesting practice is available as you are moving forward in the Vipassana practice. So there you will understand all these conditioned phenomena have the nature to come and go. So you are now not holding to them, you are not attaching to them, you are not grasping them, you simply allow them to go.
Thank you so much, Venerable.
Thank you very much. Venerable sir. There is a question in the chat box. I think it's Mr. Chandana Gunatilaka.
Yeah.
You like to please ask your question, Mr. Gunatilaka? Only thing is the weather is really playing up over in Colombo, so we may just get logged off. But please go ahead and ask Venerable Sir your question, Mr. Gunatilaka.
Yeah. Thank you, Dr. Tara. Venerable Thero, what are your thoughts about the traditional Metta Bhavana practice where we do things like Nidukvetva, Nirogivetva, Supateva type of?
Yeah. So actually, if you consider the very early levels of Buddha's teaching, so this now the commentarial Metta Bhavana and the very early Buddhist Metta Bhavana has a little difference. Now, in the Buddhist approach, if you go to the typical, say, Buddhist teaching, so we know that we first pay attention to ourselves and we pay sort of wish goodness for ourselves. May I be well, may I be happy, may I be free from suffering. So likewise, we have enough sort of metta, loving kindness towards ourselves. And then that compassionate, that loving kindness can be used to someone as well, someone else as well. Because first of all, we ourselves have to be quite feeling positive, and then we can apply the same thing to another person. So that, of course, is the typical Metta Bhavana. Now, on the other hand, now as you are moving forward, so it has the capacity not only to limit yourself and maybe to your relatives or to loved ones or to your close people, but you can even include many others. So all the beings in front of you, all the beings onto your right side, all the beings behind you, all the beings onto your left side, all the beings in the upper side, all the beings in the lower side. So likewise, now you are pervading metta to all the directions. So this is in a way kind of a expansion of your loving kindness. So it's a kind of a natural growing. So this natural growing of metta is really beautiful because it expands your mind rather than narrowing your mind. It basically expands your mind, kind of a pervaded metta. So you can pervade the whole metta to whole universe. So this is where Buddha talks about metta ceto vimutti. That is the point that he really highlights, telling that if one develops that kind of a metta ceto vimutti, so there are very beautiful benefits, and the devas will attracted. Basically, they start to protect you, and even the non-human start to protect you. You are being fairly protected from the fire and various other poison, etc. So likewise, there are very huge benefits as you are moving towards this metta ceto vimutti, where fair amount of opening in the mind happen. There are no restrictions, there are no boundaries, and everything included, all inclusive kind of metta. So therefore, metta Buddha recommends, and as we can connect all the other Brahma Viharas also to this. Actually, I didn't touch that part because the mindfulness itself has the capacity to develop fair amount of compassion and empathy and all these things. So I didn't incorporate metta, mudita, karuna, upekha, those Brahma Viharas. So this Brahma Vihara practice is another side of the Buddhist meditation. You can incorporate that. And the beauty is, Buddha talks about even using metta even at the level of bojjhanga, even at the level of enlightenment factors. So how to have kind of a loving kindness attitude even when you are developing mindfulness. How to have loving kindness attitude, kind of a background, even when you are developing investigation, Dhamma Vicaya. How you are going to develop, say, effort while maintaining kind of a loving attitude in your mind. So likewise, Buddha coming up with a very beautiful strategy where various enlightenment factors can be developed while maintaining kind of a loving mind, loving kindness attitude within your mind. So it's a kind of an incorporation of these enlightenment factors that is purely from the Vipassana point of view. And again, this loving kindness, which is fairly from the Samatha point of view. So it's a kind of a very beautiful blend coming from Samatha and Vipassana, and that is explained in the Metta Sutta, and how to incorporate these two. And Buddha says it is fairly unique to himself and fairly unique to his dispensation, to his sasana, not available in the other practices. Yeah.
Thank you, Venerable Sir. I'm going to hand over the mic to Dinusha. She has some comments as well. And I think with that, we will try to wind up the session if there are no more urgent questions, because I think the weather is really taking over our time factor. We have 20 minutes more. But I'm going to hand over to Dinusha so that she will manage the rest of the session. Dinusha, over to you, please.
Thank you, Tara. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank Venerable Chandaratana for joining us today. It was a very insightful session. And I'm not using the word insightful lightly. What I meant is that you explained this so clearly, this connection between mindfulness and social and emotional learning. And more than that, I think you trace the pathway or the journey of the mind on this journey of mindfulness and social and emotional learning, the slow way in which the mind transforms. And I think that is what really gave a lot of clarity to me. So thank you very much for that. Thank you for joining us, and I hope that you would join us again. I think there are a lot of comments coming in who are also reflecting that and saying thank you very much. So I think additionally, I would also like to thank Eurasia for managing all the logistics for this and managing all the Zoom for us today and all the time. Thank you so much for that. And thank you very much, Tara, also for organizing this and taking this forward. For everybody who's here, thank you so much for joining us. And we hope that you would join us again on our future programs as well. We will be in touch with you on email, and we would appreciate it if you could share also, so that more and more people would come forward to this. And don't forget, we have a Facebook page. So if you are on Facebook, please like our page, and also visit our website. We will be sharing all those. I think you already have all those details. So thank you so much again, Venerable Chandaratana. This was actually a privilege to be here today with you. Thank you so much.
Okay, you're welcome. Teruvan Saranai. Teruvan Saranai.